This is You Know I Know, a podcast where you can come onto my house, drop your buffs, and learn something from this. Yeah. I hope that sounds good. Is this thing on? That's honestly the age-old question and the question of the day.
This is You Know I Know.
Forget you heard that. That's the question of the day because okay. Thank you guys so much for coming. My name is Zach, and this is You Know I Know, and I have my first guest with me ever. Now, I don't know where this is going to line up in the order of the shows. I might make this the second episode. I might make it, I don't know yet. But this is my first time recording with a guest, and I'm so excited. Today, I've got not only my bestie, honestly, my true bestie, and not only she's a mom, she's my bestie. She helped me pick out this shirt. Introducing to you, Chelsea. Hey, Chelsea.
Hi, Zach. Hey,
Ooh,
bestie.
you sound so crystal clear in my headphones. It's actually stunning. You should
It's like I'm in your head right now.
it's like you're in my head, and it's actually really weird to actually see you because for those of you that don't know, me and Chelsea kind of send each other voice memos 24 hours a day. Last night, I'm sending her voice memos at 2 a.m. It's normal for us, but what isn't
Yeah.
normal is us being on camera. So
No, it's not normal.
honestly, a little applause for the camera work. And hey, shout out to Chelsea's husband, Isaac.
Yeah.
He helped us set this up.
Yeah. I'm nervous. I am not like the famous Zach Day. I've never been on a podcast. Despite Isaac having a literal podcast, shout out
Yeah.
to his podcast, Lost in the Pages, but I've never been on it because it's about history.
Well, this is history in a lot of ways. Today,
This is
we're making
history.
history, and today we're talking about historical people.
For sure.
It's
For sure.
I guess it's time that we kind of bring up what we're talking about today, and I'm a little bit scared too because we're talking about the Kardashians today, keeping up with them, and I haven't kept up with them a lot, so it's gonna be a little bit. This is kind of an interesting perspective for me,
Yeah.
but I'm really excited to talk about them because whether you want to admit it or not, they are part of American history or world history,
Amen.
really.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
Kourtney Kardashian invented shaking a salad, you know what I mean? And it's just like that's one thing I do know, okay?
That is so true. Something about them is they've taught us a lot.
They've taught us a lot, and I've also learned that you have a pretty good Kourtney impression, which you have a lot of good impressions, by the way.
Thank you.
And your
Thank you.
Kourtney impression is really good. If you don't mind, go ahead and do the Dorito one.
I don't know.
It was something like Mason. I can't remember how you do. I can't do it like you, but
I might have to bring that out a little bit later in the show. I am
yeah.
sweating profusely. I am so nervous. And like talking about Doritos in my Kourtney voice. I don't know. I'm not there yet.
No, it is actually only like 9:30 a.m. where I'm at right now. It's a little early. So I
Good
don't mean
morning,
to
good morning, good morning.
I don't mean to put you on the spot and have you acting and improvising and full sketch
You're
comedy.
like, good morning, get to work.
Well, people don't want to get off their ass and work these days, you know?
Oh my gosh, that was so good, Zach.
Thank
That was
you.
so good.
Thank you so much.
You know,
Wait.
for someone who doesn't know, oh. yes. For someone who doesn't know the Kardashians, you know the Kardashians. I guess how can you not? If you're on social media, how can you not?
And that's the thing, and I think that let's just get into it. You know, let's go ahead and get into it. When it comes to keeping up with the Kardashians, the TV show and stuff, like it was kind of always in my oeuvre. and when I think back to, like, that time and that period of television and stuff, I was really into TV. That was, 2007, that was Juicy Couture, that was Ugg Boots, that was LA, Pinkberry, you know what I mean? And I was
And
really into
Farm
all that.
Boy Zach watching TV.
And me, not going to school and watching every episode of The Girls Next Door or whatever it was.
Right.
Um, I just remember, like, for some reason, I didn't get as into it. I did watch it, but for some reason, I wasn't as into it. I think it might have been because I was a Simple Life girl. I was
Right.
a Paris Hilton head and
Mhm.
a Nicole Richie head, and I was just like, "Who is this girl coming on here trying to be like them?" You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
what was your kind of first introduction to the show, if you can think back that way?
Yeah.
My god.
Well, I have a sister who's 8 years older than me, right?
Mm,
So, like, my television wasn't really my choice. It was, like, what she wanted. We shared a room for a while, and so I was a Laguna Beach baby because I was, like, in
mm.
5th grade. Like, "What'd Spencer do this time?" Like, I
Yeah.
was really into that, and
Yeah.
I heard about the Kardashians because, Brody Jenner, who was on
Yes.
Laguna Beach. So that's
Right.
kinda, I think, what made my sister be like, "Ooh, what is this?" Because, like, she was a Laguna Beach lover, and so I was like, just that little sister that was like, "I wanna know too." So I remember watching it, and I remember the stripper pole in the parents' bedroom, first episode. I remember
Oh,
that, and I was like,
on the Kardashians? You're talking about
"Yeah,
that? Yeah. Oh, yeah,
yeah."
we're gonna talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that vividly and being, like, disturbed, but, like, intrigued. Like, I was like, "What is this?" But I was, like, a little bit like, "This is an adult show," which we'll have to get into, when we talk about that first episode.
Yeah, I mean, so, yeah, me and Chelsea both rewatched the series premiere of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I can't even talk. I'm
Now it's
like, let
called
me.
The Kardashians, by
Now
the
it's
way.
called The Kardashians, and it's on
Mhm.
Hulu, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, we both watched the first episode, and honestly, it was a journey. I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was really funny and, like, also really dumb, and I was like,
So
"This is."
dumb.
I can't believe it's just such an interesting, experience to see them how much they've transformed in a lot of ways, you know?
The voice. That's what got me. Her voice, she was like doing like her Paris Hilton voice. Like she was like, "Hey guys, like I'm Kim Kardashian." She does not talk like that now. Like she talks like normal. I
Yeah,
mean,
well,
it's a little valley girl, but she's from California. What can you do with that?
that's really interesting because 'cause I'm the oldest in my family, so it was kinda like whatever I was watching was, like, probably what my little sister watched, you know?
Yeah, I bet when
And
she comes on, you'll have to ask how much you
yeah.
influenced what she watched.
Yeah, and, Laguna Beach was a little bit kind of too old for me, I feel like. I wasn't really into it as
Yeah,
much. I don't know. I remember other kids my age kinda watching it, but I was like that's kind of a blind spot for me too, Laguna Beach in the Hills, but I knew of Brody Jenner because I was like, "He's cute," and he's just like the most basic frat boy ever, you know?
yeah, yeah,
But he was definitely famous, and then Caitlyn Jenner was definitely really famous as well, and was an Olympic gold medalist, which I thought was really kind of like a draw for people to watch the show because I was trying to think
yeah,
about like who is going to watch this show about people that no one really knew who they were. But then, you get into the sex tape of it all, and that really so according to my notes and my research, the sex tape came out, and then 8 months later was when the first episode premiered. And
yeah,
it's really interesting that that kind of was definitely a part of the draw. People wanted to see who this girl was because the sex tape was, like, so famous, and people were definitely like, "Oh, we wanna find out, like, more about this family and this
yeah.
girl," right? But also
Well,
they were
Ray
all
J was famous already, so she was already in that scene, like, she's friends and working with Paris Hilton, she was, like, Brandy's assistant. She was
Yeah.
already, like, in that scene, and so for us, it's, like, a little like, "Oh, who is she?" But, like, really, she kinda had already Chris, Momager Chris had already planted her seeds, I think, long before the
Definitely.
actual premiere episode.
Oh, yeah, and, oh, man, I was doing some research about the sex tape too, just because I was just like honestly, everybody knows about it. It's all over the place, but I just didn't know for sure. I was like, "Was it leaked? Was it planned?" And all this other stuff. That is gonna be a question on everyone's lips until the day we die, and wasn't it on the new season on the that's so funny because it's like, I'm so curious about the tape. Can you hear the beep?
Yeah, that's good.
Um, I forget what this one is. Oh, yeah. Chris planned it. Actually, I don't know if she did or not, but I was watching these YouTube videos of Ray J pulling up receipts and contracts and all this stuff, and I was like, they'll never admit to it. It's fine. It's in the past, but it is just interesting to think about. And we can get more into that too. But let's kind of talk a little bit about like this first episode because I feel like that kind of might be a good way to kind of structure the way we're going to talk about this show because this premiered in 2007. That's been 15 years ago or however long, and they are still the most famous people in the world. And like I feel like it's interesting to think about them as a family and a famous entity because people hate their guts. Like let's be honest, like
Yeah.
they're the most hated people in the world, even though they're the most famous people in the world. People
Yeah,
hate
no,
them,
I
and people are
agree.
obsessed with them, you know?
Yeah.
Why do you think
No,
that
like, I was
is?
kind of I don't know, but I was, like, kind of embarrassed that, like, we were gonna be talking about the Kardashians because I was like, "Oh gosh, like, the Kardashians, like, I'm just a girl, like, I'm just a girl who loves to be have a television show on that does nothing for me except makes
Oh,
me giggle.
yeah,
I'm just
mindless.
a girl. I'm not here to learn. I'm here to have a good time." And, I just
That's
feel
not
like I
very
need to
Barbie of you. I'm just
Oh, no, in the new Barbie movie, there's a scene and it's like you can pick the Burks and go to the real world, and then there's like or you can stay and not know anything and just be like this
yeah,
blob of a person, and she's
yeah,
like, "I wanna be that one." I'm her in that moment. So, like, let me make that very clear to the audience, like, but I was kind of embarrassed, which isn't really like me, like, I'm always like, I'm a girl's girl. I'm
yeah, of
always gonna
course.
be like, I want the Starbucks, like, I'm not trying to be different. I'm just like any other
You're like,
girl.
"I am Autumn Girl," whatever that
Right, love to be 'em.
Christian
I
Girl
love a
Autumn or
tall
what.
boot.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
exactly. So, like but it's I still, even though I'm like that, was like a little like, "Ooh, ooh, I'm a Kardashian, like, lover." Like, I love them. I think they're great. And I'm, like, a little embarrassed by that because they're so hated. And
Yeah.
that's not fair to love them, but also be like, you know what
But
I mean?
secretly
But it's my
love them in
truth.
secret.
I
Yeah,
love them
no.
in secret.
I mean, that's okay. You can love them out loud, honey. Love them
I
out
do.
loud.
I mean, I follow all of them on the Instagram. Oh, yes. Sorry. I didn't know you were about to clap.
We always have the applause handy.
Mhm.
Um, no, I mean, I get it. Like, for some reason, I don't know. I've always been intrigued by them, but I was never like, what are they up to? I think it's because even when I was rewatching this first episode, excuse me, I'm having a little burp moment.
That's
Um,
something about you.
Something about me, I'm gonna burp. I'm gonna burp into the
He
mic.
gon' burp.
No, but like there's something even about watching this first episode that seemed super like scripted. Like of course you go into it and you want to watch and you want to see what they're going to say about the sex tape, okay?
Mhm.
And that's like the big draw for the first episode. And
Yeah.
it's like Chris coming into the kitchen and she's all, "Hey, sweetie, you got to talk about the sex tape." And Kim's like, "I don't really want to talk about the sex tape." It just didn't seem like they were actually capturing a
Yeah.
raw moment. It seemed like they were like, we have to talk about this. Let's set it up. And like the acting was pretty great. Like the cinematography was stunning, but
It's
I
giving
was just like,
TLC. The first episode is giving TLC. They would absolutely scream now. They would never do the fast cuts that. It was so choppy. It was crazy to see that. But think I think it is kind of a scripted show, and you should know that, but it is about their real lives. Like, it shows their real boyfriends, I mean, their real
Their
raw
house.
moments. They talk about the sex tape, which is a real thing that happened,
Yeah.
even though I'm sorry, can you beep they
Oh,
talk about hold on. Let me
go
start
ahead.
over.
Yeah.
They talk about the tape, and
Yeah, that was pretty good. We'll have to see how that lines up in the edit of my show. It's like they talk about
um,
the pure silence and then the beat. I'm like, is there a lag? Is there a lag? It's okay.
it's okay. But they talk about their real life, but I do think you have to know there's an element to every show that is scripted a little bit.
Give them a break. It was the first episode, you
It was the
know?
first episode. It was a different
It was
time.
a different time and it was like it was the just them kind of trying out if it was gonna work and
Yeah.
it
And they're
definitely helped.
obviously playing characters in that. Chloe,
Yes.
it literally starts off and she's like, my sisters say I'm a B
Yeah,
word.
right.
Oh,
My
I'm sorry.
sisters say I'm a
Yeah, that is the first thing, which
well, actually, I have the very first words of the episode, I wrote them down.
oh, okay. Would
So,
you please recite them for the
at the
audience?
yeah, the first words of the series was, "I am starving," and then Chris was like, "She needs to do a little cardio. She's got a little junk in the trunk. Look at that big butt, like, she could stand to do some cardio." So, it's just interesting how the first episodes of the entire series of Keeping Up with the Kardashians was, "I'm hungry," and talking about her weight.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yeah. And her butt, which is a topic of interest to
Of
everyone.
course.
Okay, I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to speak for everyone, but she kind of made butts a thing again. I mean,
Oh,
not her.
definitely.
Okay, there was lots of other people, but
Yeah,
she
like
kind of
J-Lo and whoever.
yes, yes, but I feel because her social media presence and stuff and this show and it being so relatable to people, I feel like she made butts come back into style
I
really
mean,
good.
yeah, and I mean, of course, that was another kind of drawing point, I think, even back then. Maybe not right away, but I can't remember, but it was like, is her butt real? That was like a huge question on everybody's lips. Is her
Yeah.
butt real? And it's just funny how in the very first moments of the episode it's talking about their weight. And it's interesting to think about their perspective, their not perspective, but their like impact on the culture too. Because I think that not only did she bring butts back, but I think that like seeing them on TV, they were like supposed to be like the curvy girls of the industry.
Yeah.
And I'm interested on your thoughts on that because like coming from Paris and Nicole, who were literally like, and Rachel Zoe and the Olsen twins, who were just like,
Yes.
I'm so thin, and like that was in. But
Yeah.
then Kim Kardashian comes on there, and she's in a beautiful gown, probably by Forever 21, boobies just out. It was a different
It was a
thing to
different
see on
time.
TV.
Yeah. No, I think that they brought being curvy. I think they made that a little bit more normal. Um because yeah, they kind of, it was the Paris of it all and then it kind of slowly turned into the Kim of it all.
Yeah.
And she's kind of managed to stay very
Oh,
relevant this
well, yeah.
whole time. And I feel like even recently she's lost weight. I don't know if you know that. I keep up with her a little bit, and
Who,
she's lost
Kim?
weight. And people, yes, Kim, and people are freaking out because they're like, "Oh my gosh, is she gonna try to make skinny happen again?"
Oh,
Obviously
yeah.
they've
Oh,
never
yeah.
been not skinny, but you know what I mean. Is she trying to make super thin a thing again? And does she even know her impact? A lot of
Yeah.
pressure on this woman to either stay the way she is or gain weight, lose weight, anything like that. People are every eye is on this family
Yeah.
for what is going to trend next, which is I can't imagine how that would feel at all. Also, I just have to stop. Isn't it crazy that Chloe was known as the fat one?
Yes, I
Watching
would.
that first episode, she is not fat at all.
No, and she's absolutely stunning, like, just standing there,
She's
I'm
so
like, "You're
cute.
gorgeous." Like, yeah, and you look great, like
She's so tall and beautiful, and I was just like, "Wait, why did like even I as like a little kid was like, "Oh yeah, she's like the big sister." Like, what? No,
right.
she's not. She's just like tall, but she's
She's
not like
tall, and then, like, compared to Courtney, who's, like, 5'2" or something, or, like, I don't even know how tall Courtney was, but
I
I feel
think
like she's
they're like 5 foot. Like they're little
yeah,
girls.
but not Chloe.
Not Chloe. Chloe's tall.
It's interesting because at the beginning of the episode, it introduces us to, each girl, and like you said earlier, like, it's like she's like, "I'm Kim. I'm the star." And then it's like, "I'm Courtney. I'm the oldest." And she says, like, "I'm
She's like,
the"
I'm the most mature.
yeah, "the most mature." And then, of course, Chloe, she's like, um, my sisters say I'm the of the family." And she's just kind of like that, and then it shows a clip of her sitting at the table like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah,
And, like,
yelling.
yelling. And I thought that was just funny. And then
Yeah.
it doesn't really touch it doesn't give us an introduction on Rob or Kendall or Kylie.
Yeah, that makes sense. They were 10.
Yeah, but it does talk about, and then Chris is like, "I'm Kim's mom and also her manager." And
Mhm.
she's wearing a Forever 21 halter with,
Yeah.
like, her it is so
Yeah.
we have to talk about the clothes in this first episode and the styling of the first episode and their
Mhm.
house. They would never be caught dead wearing any of this stuff today, never.
Well, no, but I wouldn't be caught wearing what I wore in 2007 either, to be
That's
fair.
so true. That's so true.
To
No, me
be
either.
fair.
I mean, God, if you
You
see me
could we I don't know if you know how to do this, but if you could clip in a photo of you in 2007. We've been friends since, around that time, by the way. Um
if I pull up a picture of me in 2007, this will be the audience.
No, you were
Actually,
so
they're
cute.
gonna be like
Yeah, that's
because
more
I'm
like it.
so proud of my transformation because we all transform, you
We
know?
all transform, but, like, I don't think it's fair to be like I would say they wouldn't be caught dead in those brands because I know that they were wearing some Wet Seal, okay?
Yeah, Wet
And
Seal, that's
yeah,
exactly
like,
it.
they were giving mall. Were they giving,
God.
like, 2007 though? Yeah, and they're trendy girls, like, they're not that's what they're known for. They are trendsetters. They're trendy girls. So I can't fully make fun of their clothes because I wouldn't wear what I wore then either. But the house, I love their house. The outside of it is so warm and welcoming. And now they live in like concrete blocks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I actually prefer their 2007 house to their
The
houses now.
2007 house looks so much more, like, sort of normal. Obviously, they're rich,
They were
and
so rich, yeah. But
they
but normal rich.
yeah, like, very, like, I mean, I was watching it through the lens of, like, God, this looks like an episode of The Real Housewives in a lot of ways, which everybody knows I love that show, but, like, the style and the clothing and everything. I mean, like, this was supposed to be their anniversary party, and they have a DJ in the backyard. Chris is in like, the first episode is all about Caitlyn and Chris's anniversary, 16 years,
Yeah,
and, Chris Jenner is in, like, a black what are those dresses called where there's, like, no sleeves, no like, strapless, I guess you
a
could call it.
strapless, yeah, strapless
Strapless
dress.
little dress, like a wet seal, black, pleated, like I mean, it was so ugly, but, that's just part of the time. But I was just like, man, it's just funny because I feel like maybe at the time, I'm like, you're wearing like, imagine Chris today for an anniversary is not gonna show up in, like, anything like that, but it's interesting anyway, you know?
Yeah.
And then, like
Well, it's what's really interesting to think about? Or not Chloe, Courtney is our age that first episode. Can you imagine right now, our age, us getting as famous as they are now?
I mean, yeah, and they were like I thought it was so funny that Chris was like, "Oh, Scott, you're 24, like, you should be thinking about getting married," and I was like, "Oh
No,
my
she
god."
was saying the opposite. She was saying, she is like 28. So she's probably wanting to get married. You're only 24, so you're probably wanting to party more.
Yeah.
Like she actually was saying the opposite of what you just said. And that's something about the Kardashians. A lot of times their words get twisted.
No, I thought she was like yeah, well, I mean, I don't think she was saying you should get married, but she was just saying, like, like, you're not even thinking about that, so on your
Yes.
radar, kind
Yeah,
of thing.
that is true. She was kind of just like dot dot dot. But again, I think that was all very scripted. Like,
Yeah. Well, yeah,
you
we'll get
know.
into that in a second, but I was also wanting to talk about how the first episode focuses on, "So, Kim, sweetie, the Tyra show called, and they want you to come be on the Tyra Banks show." I was like,
Yeah.
"When worlds collide," you know what I mean?
Yes.
Um, I loved that. That definitely put it in a time capsule for me, you know?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Isaac had never seen he's never seen The Kardashians, not one single episode. Isaac's my
Wow.
husband, and he watched it with me this morning, so did my baby. I put it on. We we watched it. We're not a TV family, so Bowen was, like, staring at the TV, and they're, like, on a stripper pole, but anyways, but
Yeah, we'll get into that too because I have
but
notes
that
about that.
but it didn't show anything bad, but it was just, it was really interesting. I was just like, "Whoa," to hear his perspective because he was like, "This is really like, he was like, "This is very, you watched this as a little girl?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "This is, like, very different than what I thought it was about." But he was like, "Tyra Banks show," he was like, wasn't that so problematic? Like, it's so funny hearing his perspective because he was so out of that time zone. Whereas, like, me and you, we were, like, into it. Like, we were like, what's
We were
Tyra
eating it
have to
up.
say?
Oh, yeah, of
Yeah, and
course.
he's like, "Wasn't that, like, really bad?" And I was like, "Ooh."
I mean, it
And I,
was
"Ooh."
kinda bad, but it also won Emmy awards, which to me is insane that the Tyra Banks show won an Emmy, you know what I mean? I'm pretty sure it won an Emmy, like, 1 season or something, but yeah, I tried to scour the internet looking for that interview.
Yeah.
They have scrubbed that from the internet. It's nowhere to be found. I was looking all over YouTube, just Googling
What?
it. Yeah, I cannot find that Tyra Banks interview where she's on there for the first time. I saw one little clip that I saw on TikTok, and it was Tyra kind of grilling her about the sex tape, and that's the only thing I could find. But I really wanted to see her. I wanted to see her on the Tyra show.
Her first
Yeah.
show. Like, that is so crazy. Yeah, I'd love to see that. I
Well,
wonder why they did that.
good luck. No, the whole episode is just her being like, "I'm so nervous about being on the Tyra
Yeah.
show," and it was funny. And then you immediately get introduced to Scott, and the first
Mhm.
thing that you see about Scott, who, for those who don't know about the Kardashians, Scott is a huge recurring character on the show. You know what I mean? He's a part
Mhm.
of the family. And the very first scene is Courtney and Scott kind of having a little fake argument about a cell phone or something, and Courtney's like, "You are not. This is so unlike you." Da, 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 da. And I was like, "This is so weird." And he just looks so young, and I
Yeah.
haven't seen him lately, but he just looks like so young and kind of clean and like a douchebag. I mean, he looks so kind of like a he looks kind of like a
He he looks like a frat boy for sure. For
yes.
sure.
He looks like he's
Like,
wearing
daddy's
Vineyard
money.
Vines or what's it called?
Yes. Yes. No, Vineyard Vines for
Yeah.
sure. That's what he's giving that for sure.
I mean, did you and also within like 5 minutes of the episode, the whole the whole kind of drama of the episode besides Kim being nervous is like Chris being like Chris in a talking head right away is like, "Well, Scott cheated on Courtney, and I'm gonna have to tell her about it." And I was just like, "Whoa!"
Yeah.
Like this is so that immediately kind of shows the relationship that she has with her kids and stuff. Um, and I was just like, "This is really weird." I just was like,
Mhm.
"This is really weird." And as a teen, I never like the cheating thing and stuff like that. I just never really connected with it. But like, do you remember thinking like, "Oh, I want to see what happens," or were you just like, "Whatever"?
Yeah, I mean, I just was Like, yeah, let's see what happens. Let's go. like
Well,
I
I mean, I just wasn't invested in them because I didn't know who Scott was, and I was like, "I don't care," but I don't know, you know?
Yeah, well, I can't fully remember, like, my exact first thought, but I know I watched it. So I'm gonna go
Yeah.
on a limb and say that I was like, "Ooh," and I'm going to also say that I probably didn't realize how scripted it was because I was, like, 12. So, like, I
But
don't know,
watching it now, you can totally see.
yeah, yeah, no, 100%. Even I rewatched The Kardashians probably like 5 years ago because I kinda you know me, I'm not as much of a TV gal as you. I go through stages with TV where I won't watch it for like a year. But I like rewatched all of it like 5 years ago or something, and it was really I was like, "Oh, okay. Okay, I see now, like, how scripted it was and how fake it
Kinda
was,
just
but
set up.
also yeah, but also the like I said earlier, it's so much of their real life too. So it's like you can't fake everything on there. Like they literally can't. Because they bring all their real life friends, people,
Yeah,
houses,
yeah.
children, literal children into the story. So you can't like you know they can't fake a lot of stuff anymore at all, but it's really interesting like that first episode, man.
I know, I thought it was interesting too. I thought it was cool to kinda see, like, the beginnings of Scott and his impact on the family and the show, and because, like, they go through a lot, right? Like, do they have kids together too?
Yeah, they
Yeah,
have
Mason.
three.
Oh, they have 3 kids
Mason,
together?
yeah, Mason, Penelope and Rain are their three kids,
Wow,
and
and
she's
she
pregnant currently
that's what I
with
thought.
Travis Barker's baby.
Anytime something big happens in the news, like Astro World, that whole thing, or like
Oof.
Kim getting robbed in Paris
Oh
or
yeah,
whatever, like
that's bad.
anything like that comes on Twitter, and then when you watch the show, it's like, "Oh, I really wanna see what was happening in the moment," and then for some reason, I
Mhm.
just feel like it's kinda like they give you half of it. Even, like, going back to this, like, the sex tape thing, it's like, it's gonna be a little sanitized, scripted version of what actually happened, and
Yeah.
I wanna see, like, I
Yeah.
wanna see, like, the Real Housewives where that girl gets arrested on camera on Salt Lake City, you know what I mean? Like, I wanna see, like
Yeah. Well, you do see sometimes you see that sometimes, like, you see Chloe, going to jail and stuff, but
mm,
I think that they and why they've stayed so relevant and why they're some of the biggest celebrities in the world is because they know when to pull back with that kind of stuff, because if they let you in too much, it's a joke, which a lot of
yeah.
people look at them as a joke still. But I feel like a lot of people have respect for them because they show everything, but they don't show everything. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, 'cause they
Um,
have so much creative power over the show, like, as
yes.
producers and stuff.
Which, speaking of the show, did you know Ryan Seacrest? He is like what made this show happen, and he is still like right there with them.
Yeah, I
Isn't
mean
that correct? Ryan, he's
yeah.
making money off of these
Oh, yeah.
girlies, and he has been for like what, 20 years?
Yeah, definitely. I know, I thought that was
Brilliant.
so funny because I also heard that it was supposed to be a show starring Lindsay Lohan and her family before it was the
Oh,
Kardashians, like, they were basically basing the Kardashians off of the Osbournes, which was, like, the biggest show
yeah.
on MTV at the
Karen.
time, and
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Sharon! That kind of vibe.
Oh my gosh,
What'd you
did you hear? I said Karen because that's my mom's name, and my dad would always go, Karen! So
Karen!
I just thought that was her name.
Um, yeah, yeah, so it was that, and then I guess they were trying to bring something to E! Network that was in a similar vibe as that, and they were gonna do something with Lindsay Lohan, and then The Simple Life had just, like, ended, and
Mhm.
then Lindsay Lohan got a DUI, and then she pulled out from the show.
Right.
So, then it became, well, you know, Paris's friend could their family's crazy, and then, like, Chris and Caitlyn sit down with executive producers, and they were just like, "This is our life, this is our family," and they kind of it became a show. There was, like, an interview with Chris too that I watched from a long time ago, and she said that if anything, one thing that she hoped to get from the show is that it would bring a lot of good publicity to um, Smooch and Dash, which is like their
Yes.
stories that they had before the show.
Yes,
And then
and
in this first
Dash.
episode, they introduce you to Dash, and
Yes.
you see like
And
Chloe behind
honestly,
the counter. I'm just like,
Dash was,
whoa.
like, what made me into the show. Like, I do
Oh,
remember Dash being, because eventually they go into Dash Dolls, which is, like, their employees. It goes into the drama with the employees,
oh wow.
and yeah, no, like, Dash is a huge part of the Kardashians. I mean, it's
You,
Mason's middle name. Did you know that?
Mason Dash Disick.
Disick.
Oh, that's cute.
I'm
Um,
pretty sure.
oh my
Let me
gosh, the
fact
other
check.
day I was watching Trisha Paytas podcast and she said that if she has another baby girl, she's gonna name the girl Elvis. And I was like,
Oh.
interesting.
Yeah, it
Um,
is Dash, by the way. I fact checked myself.
did they like what kind of store was it just like a consign like what was this store? Like were they just
Just
selling like
clothes.
random
Clothes.
clothes kind of like a
Like a
boutique?
boutique, yeah. Yeah, a
Okay.
boutique for sure. It's just a boutique. They were boutique owners,
So they weren't like
sisters.
designing these clothes. They were just like selling, you know.
I think that they were just selling. They might have designed some stuff, but like not at first out. It was just a boutique at first, like a regular
I
boutique.
loved seeing Chloe and Courtney behind the counter of a retail store.
Yeah.
I was like, that's, they were
Did it
working.
remind you of your Brew 21 days?
It reminded me of me working at Rue 21. And first of all, how dare you bring that up? I worked
They
at Rue
need to know.
21. I worked at Rue 21 for a summer, okay? And it was one of the scariest moments of my life right next to Sonic, you know?
Yeah, Zach famously worked at Route 21 and Sonic, and both of those places where we went to college is,
Bragging, we went to college, everyone. And then the
yeah.
applause.
Hey guys, we did go to college. Thank you. And we both did graduate despite all odds. Thank you.
It took a lot of work and many years in my case.
Yeah,
But
no. We both did remedial math, but we did get through it.
yeah. And I was working at Rue 21 and I was like, I'm working at Dash, you know? I
You were
mean,
like, I'm a Rue doll, not a Dash doll. No, no, I'm a Rue doll.
yeah, I was also working at Sonic and both places had a lot of say it with me, crack energy. um, and
But you wore those skates to get that extra cent, honey.
I
Yes,
wore
you
those
did.
skates and I
And
skated
you could
around.
insert again if you know how. Insert a clip. I have a clip of you falling in said skates in your uniform. If you want to put that in.
I was hauling
Oh,
ass. I mean, sorry, I was hauling in my skates. And I had to go and I had to do what I had to do. But yeah, it was just interesting to see them working at a retail store
yeah.
and like I think
Them
it was kind of
working is
yeah.
crazy.
But no one wants to get off there and work these days, you know?
Right.
And I felt
And
like it
she
was
does
kind of
address that
yeah,
in the show. Yeah. She
it
addresses
was
how
cute.
she sees how that could offend people, for
Did you see
sure.
when Courtney was like or Chloe was like, Scott's a Gemini. I thought of you because you're famously a Gemini. And
I am.
I
Sorry,
was like,
everyone.
that's cute. I thought that was kind of cute and funny. I thought it was funny too how like they're getting ready for the anniversary, and then Courtney and Chris are out like just getting wasted together. And I was
Yeah.
just like, oh my gosh, this is so weird. Like the whole episode was just so weird. And then they're
Yeah.
like
They
late for
kind
their
of
own
just,
party.
yeah, I think they just threw a lot at us to see what stuck. But yeah, the takeaway for me that I thought was the weirdest part of the episode for me was Kendall and Kylie and like how they were like, I think that they were trying to make it show like, oh, we're like a crazy family, like we don't have like rules, and they're letting them dance around on the stripper pole, and they're like 10 and then go behind the bar and make margaritas and stuff, which I don't think. I think that Chris Jenner is a good mom. Like I definitely think that. um I mean, I think she's not a mom I would be, but I don't think she would ever put her kids like on purpose in dangerous situations or anything like that. But the fact that they like filmed that, I was like, that's wild. That is wild.
Well, I kinda don't know how I feel. I feel like, a lot of people think Beyoncé is, a demon and a devil, but I kinda think that Chris is a little bit. And I'm not hating on her, but I do think she's kinda like the devil and like Lucifer, but, like, not in, like, a bad way.
Oh,
Like, I think I respect her, but, like, I think
like you're
that she's.
scared of her, but like,
Yeah, because I kinda low key think that the sex tape was, like, set up by her and Kim and, like, whatever, but I'm just like, the fact that you could do that to your child is a little bit demonic and sickening and, like, you wanna be famous really bad, so you're
but
gonna
you
do
don't know
anything.
if that's true. So you can't
I
just
don't
like
know if that's true,
you don't know if that's true. I don't.
but
I think that she did not set that up. I think that that happened, and then she was like, "What can we do with this so that our
yeah,
lives can be
maybe.
better?" That's the way. That's the vibe I get. I'm really good at people reading, and you're famously, dare I say it again, bad,
Really bad at it. Yeah, well, yeah.
really bad. Like you love horrifying people. Um,
Yeah.
no, no. Sometimes you do good, but I think that that's probably more of what happened. Less satanic rituals, more somebody who really jumps on opportunities. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's right because I don't necessarily think it's. I also don't think that they're like the end all be all. You know, I just think they're entertaining, and I think people are mean to them whenever it's like unnecessarily. Like I'm like,
Well,
calm
that's
down.
just the internet, sweetie,
I
you're.
guess so. I guess so. That is just the internet, but
Well, yeah, I thought it was so funny how, like, the next scene is, like, Robin Anton is there, like, the founder of the Pussycat Dolls, who I was immediately like, "Oh, Robin Anton's there. Okay," just at their house, like, teaching Kim Kardashian a stripper burlesque routine, which we never see, by the way. And then you get, like, here comes, Kylie, who and she's like, "Look what I can do," and she's very Stewart in that moment. "Look what I can do." And she, like, flips upside down on the pole. That was the whole thing with Kendall and Kylie was just, like, on the stripper pole and being, like, behind the bar, and I was like, "This is so a
I
bad look,
hate
a
yeah,
bad
I
look."
hate that, but, like, when
I
I was
hated it.
little, I didn't think anything of it. I thought it was funny,
Are they, like,
probably. I
our
mean,
age too now? Like, are we the
Kendall Kendall and Kylie are younger than us a little bit. I think that they're, like, 25, like, 24 or
okay,
25.
how dare you out our ages very violently.
They said that we were the same age as Courtney when the show started, so I already added
Yeah, yeah, I know. Well, that's okay. I'm gonna start trying to think, like, how old am I? I don't even know.
it.
But yeah, I
You're pushing,
remember.
babe, you're pushing.
Okay, don't do that to me. Look, no, 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 I can't about it.
I'm
Um,
sorry, but Ryan Seacrest says you're too old for American Idol. But not too old to be a Kardashian.
I met Ryan Seacrest once, and
How'd that go?
he was like, "Love your flip flops," and I was
Were you
like,
like, "Thank you."
I
What'd
was
you
like, "Thanks,
say?
King." I was just like, "Thanks," and he was like, "Do you want a peanut?" And I was like,
Ooh,
I'll pass." I should have taken it, but he did
you
offer me,
should
or like a
have.
cashew or something like that, and I was
You
like,
could have
"Okay."
framed it.
I know. Um, yeah, and it was just funny how, like, Caitlyn comes in and just, like, puts a stop to it, and, like, the Caitlyn Jenner, uh, sightings on the show is just, like,
Yeah,
so the energy is just really weird, and it's kinda like you're supposed to be, like, the upstanding kinda like, "Oh, I'm, like, the harsh one of the family, and, like, you guys can't
yeah,
have any fun," and I thought that was kinda
yeah,
interesting, you know?
yeah. Um, yeah, I think that that's very true. I think that's what that role was in the show.
Yeah.
Obviously, everything changes though over time, and even Caitlyn changing, that's another part of the show that's like you can't script that, you know? And so
Yeah.
like the show let you in. It lets you into a lot. Which I think is like kind of scary but also cool. It's really entertaining. But it's kind of scary for them. Very
Yeah, I think that
open.
too with this first episode, they kinda had, like, the 2 storylines, and it was, like, the Kim going on Tyra and then Scott cheating on Courtney, and then, like, at the very end of
Mhm.
the episode, Chris is all, "I have to tell Courtney or I'm gonna feel so bad," and she's like, Courtney, I just want to tell you that Scott was like dating someone a couple months ago. And it's like that's been the drama the whole episode. And then Courtney's like,
Mm-mm.
I already knew we were not exclusive. And then there was like no payoff there, which is how I feel like a lot of the show is kind of like that. It's just like there's no like,
Yeah.
I want to see like a blow up, of course, because I'm used to watching like Bad Girls Club and stuff like that. But
Right. Well,
yeah.
it does have episodes like that. There are more seasons with um high high risk behavior. Um but I just think that they are not I like I said earlier, I think that they kind of like they've figured out the formula to like be dramatic, let people in, but like but like the early episodes and stuff, like the early seasons, they are like a lot more wild, which makes sense because they're like a lot younger and partying, and then now they have like children that they have to care for, but there's still like so much drama.
Like, I think the reason that I was so into, like, The Girls Next Door is because it was kinda like, oh, you get, like, an inside view of something that normally you wouldn't get to see, which is, like, the
Right.
inside of the Playboy Mansion and stuff like that, and I was like, "Oh, this must be, like, juicy." You know what I mean? And then
Mm-hmm.
with the Kardashians, I was kinda just like, it's just like a family or whatever, and I don't know, for some reason, I was just like, I wanna see something dramatic. I wanna see something
Yeah,
crazy, you
I
know?
think that that's why I liked them, is because I was like, "Oh, they're kinda relatable." Like, I have 5 like, there's 5 of us sisters together, like,
Yeah.
we like, that's so fun, and I
Love that.
loved, like, watching and being like, "Which one are you?" Like,
Well,
like,
I wanted to
even though they're
know.
so not relatable, they were, like, so relatable. Oh my gosh, the newest season, Zach, they are not relatable to me at all anymore. It's so crazy. They're like
Well,
fighting
I
over
wanted to
Dolce& and
know.
Gabbana. Ugh,
I wanted to know which one is your favorite, and you need to tell me
Kim.
Kim. Okay, well, tell me
Or
why.
Chloe. Okay, so I would always say I'm a Chloe girl. She's the funniest. The
Yes, yes.
she just is the funniest. I think she also is like very sweet. Like I think she like cares so much about her family. But lately, I don't know, I've just been a Kim girl. I think she's handling everything with Kanye very well. I think that she's a really good mom, and she's like a very, she's just very, what's the right word? Dare I say a hard worker or,
No, like,
yeah.
literally, she is. I was watching this morning. It's just so funny because I was watching that first episode last night, and I was just like, Kim is just like, she was cute and she was that girl. And then today
Hmm.
I'm watching an interview with she's like one of Time's most influential people of the year, and like
For
Skims is
sure.
like,
Yeah.
the Time 100.
Yeah,
And I was just like, wow.
she knows what she's doing. I don't know. But I I really I like all of them in different ways. I'd say the one I'm least compatible with, I think, is Kendall, despite I like her house the most and her style. I love Architectural Digest, and she has a beautiful home, and she's got the style that I love, but she's the least relatable to me, or like the least she's not my favorite sister.
Well,
If I had to put them in order,
it's
gun to my head, and I have to put them to order.
well, that's what we're it's funny to see them as little kids and then knowing that Kylie becomes like one of the richest people ever. And
Yeah,
like,
who's
did
the
you
most
follow
hated?
Kylie when she was in her Tumblr era? Because
No.
that's something I looked up to, trying to like do a little research on all the girls, and like Kylie was really popular on Tumblr, and that was her
Yeah,
main Tumblr.
I've heard that a lot, but no, I wasn't a Tumblr girly. I never got on Tumblr.
Yeah.
I wasn't
Well,
a I wasn't really a social media, like that's the thing though that I think has kept them so relevant is social media, but like also like I wasn't like the I'm not the biggest social media person. I like it, but like I'm not like, do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
there are people that could know the ins and outs of like their relationship with social media, but I don't
and
know
their
all of
influence on
that.
social media too, because like
Yeah.
they that's yeah, I was thinking about that a lot too, because like when you think about like someone like Paris Hilton, who used to be like one of the most famous people ever, like for
Yeah.
somehow Kim and the girls have really kind of kept up with social media, kept up with the trends, and have like
Mhm.
remained really, really famous and remained
Relevant.
relevant. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
it's definitely interesting how they did that. But I wanted to know um if you had heard about the Kardashian curse.
With men?
Yes.
Yeah, I have, and yeah, it seems legit.
I mean, there's definitely some sort of witchcraft going on there. But I think that like it's just a little bit. I don't know about the whole story because have you heard about the story about their like great grandmother like was in the woods and made a deal with these witches and
They talked about that actually
oh
on
they
the new
did?
season.
No
Yeah, they
way.
were, like, laughing at that. They were just like, "Oh my gosh, that's really funny." I think it's,
I don't know about that, but
powerful women picking not the right men. I think that's really what it boils down to, but I do love the Kardashian curse, though. I love that little mystery.
yeah, there's like YouTube videos about it, and I was watching some, and I was like, "This is so interesting." But whether or not
That
the
was your
curse thing,
research on the
that was
Kardashians.
my research. Um, there's still the show is still airing, and it's been 20 years. Is there, excuse me, is there like a huge difference between the E show and the Hulu show?
It's a little bit more, like, crisp. I feel
Hmm.
like you can also to me, I can tell, like, that they're putting their stamp down so much more. Like, this is what I want to say. Do you know
Okay.
what I mean? Because 'Cause
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
all, like, they're main producers of it, so, like,
Hmm.
that's interesting. But besides that, like, I mean, I think it's pretty similar, personally. I'm sure
Hmm.
there's people that don't. Can you hear my baby screaming in the background?
Yes, I can, and I think that would be a
Everyone
good place.
just excuse that.
I think that's okay, and I think that's a good place to kind of wrap up the episode. Is there anything else that
Yeah.
you wanted to say about the Kardashians and keeping up with the Kardashians?
Um, nope, nothing else to say. I think that they're just sweetie girlies, and we all should just calm down, let them
Mm.
live. If you don't like them, you don't have to watch the show. Heart emoji.
That's so true. A show that has withstood the test of time. Obviously, whether you love them or hate them, they are
They're here to
making
stay,
waves. They're
baby.
here to stay. And I'm going to have to get into it. I really liked that first episode. So I think I might watch a little bit more and just see how
Ooh.
yeah, we'll see how it goes.
You'll have
I'm
to
going
send
to,
me a voice memo.
oh, I'm
Update me.
definitely going to. I'm going to play this. Thank you guys so much for
Bye,
coming to You
everybody.
Know I Know. This has been so fun. Chelsea, thank you for coming on and talking with me. That was so fun. And I'm going to see you guys next time. We've got more coming for you. And thanks for coming. Bye.